Raspberry Pi Arduino Uno Q. Because this is not really an Arduino, and it's not really a Linux computer either. It's Qualcomm's answer to a question a lot of us have already asked ourselves. What if the microcontroller and the single board computer just lived on the same board? And to actually build something with it, a USB-C hub bigger than the board itself, a MicroSD stack, an external GNSS module wired into the microcontroller pins. We spent weeks with this board, bought it with our own money, built a working example project, and we still have not made up our minds about it. I'm going to walk you through what the Arduino Uno Q actually is, what we tried to do with it, and then you can decide whether or not it's right for your next project. Welcome back to the Trail Current Lab. Let's dig in. The Arduino Uno Q is a single board computer with two brains on it. On one side, you've got a microcontroller, the same class of chip you'd expect on any Arduino Uno. On the other side, an MPU running Linux. And here's the part most reviews undersell. Qualcomm doesn't have Linux talking to the microcontroller over UART or SPI like you might expect. There's a shared communication bridge between the two, and honestly, we kind of like it. It's not standard, it might not survive long term if Qualcomm ever loses interest, but right now, it's flexible. This is not a Raspberry Pi replacement. That is important to get out of the way early. We'll come back to a price comparison in a minute because that's where this thing gets interesting. Quick tour of the boring proofs. Linux side, Qualcomm Dragon QRB 2210, quad-core Cortex A53 at 2 GHz. With an Arduino GPU on the die, microcontroller side, an STM32U585 Cortex M33 running at 160 MHz. Running Arduino's core on top of Zephyr RTOS. 4 GB of LPDDR4 memory, 32 GB of eMMC storage. There's a 2 GB variant for less if you don't need the headroom. Wi-Fi 5, Bluetooth 5.1, one USB-C port carrying data, power, and video out over DisplayPort alt mode. A quick connector on the side, Uno format headers on top, I2C, SPI, UART, CAN, and analog inputs. And pay attention to this one. VIN pins accepting 7 to 34 volts of direct power input. The form factor is a classic Uno footprint, about 69 millimeters by 53. And at the time of filming, the 4 GB model is holding steady at $79. We didn't buy this to build a Pi replacement, we bought it to build a light version of Headwaters, our edge computer that bridges CAN bus to MQTT and serves a rich progressive web app for anyone in the rig to interact with Trail Current from their phone. The idea was simple. No offline maps, just the PWA, firmware updates pushed to CAN bus devices, and a way to see CAN bus data on a phone. That was it. Except we couldn't get the FD CAN controller working. The documentation just wasn't there when we bought it. We're not the only ones who ran into it. The community has since made progress, and we will revisit it. But for the review you're watching right now, we had to find something else to do with this board. So here's what we ended up building. A tile server that hosts offline map tiles from a microSD card, a GNSS receiver wired to the microcontroller side, and a web page that renders the map with our live position on the phone, basically Headwaters minus the CAN bus, running on an Arduino. Our first plan was much cleaner. Wire a microSD card straight to the microcontroller side, have the microcontroller relay map data through to Linux on request. We could not get that path to move data at a useful rate. Whatever the bridge between the two sides is optimized for, streaming megabytes of raster tiles from the microcontroller to Linux is not it. So we ended up here, a hub on the USB-C port, a microSD card inserted, all reading on the Linux side, and the microcontroller doing what it's actually good at, reading the GPS module and handing coordinates across the bridge. That part works great. Is this a practical build? No. The hub alone is bigger than the board. Add a battery, a phone, a GPS antenna, you've built something that would never survive being mounted in a vehicle. But it was worth building because it forced us to see where this board's split processing model adds value. Coordination between real-time work and the web layer. And where it doesn't, bulk data moving between the two sides. That gave us a much clearer sense of where the Arduino Uno Q could add value and where it can't. The whole project is on GitHub. Fork it, strip it, make it yours. Link is in the description. Now let's talk about the parts we're not sold on. First up, the App Lab. This is Arduino's new studio for the Uno Q, and it replaces most of what you'd expect from the classic Arduino IDE. You can't even browse the examples without a board plugged in. That is a strange decision. The Arduino IDE was a great starting point, and moving from there to Platform I/O or eventually ESP-IDF was a smooth ramp. The App Lab feels like a step sideways. You do have to use App Lab for the initial board setup, but once you're through that, you can drop into ADB, SSH into the board, run Docker containers directly. That's what we did, and it made the experience a lot closer to what we're used to. The bigger miss for me, the only way to plug in peripherals on the Linux side is directly through that single USB-C port. Yes, it does DisplayPort out. Yes, you can host devices on it, but it means a hub. And the hubs I already own are bigger than the board itself. We tried a smaller iPhone-style hub from 2PAN, and the board wouldn't even boot with it attached. Here's what would make this board actually interesting. Someone building USB-C accessories the same width as the Uno Q itself, with mounting holes that line up to the board, a slim USB-C GNSS module, a slim USB-C storage carrier, so expanding the Linux side doesn't double the footprint every time. And the microcontroller pins stay free for the hats they're meant for. Nobody has built that yet. A few things we do like. First, power. You can run this off of USB-C, or you can wire straight into the VIN pins on the header. Anywhere from 7 to 24 volts, and it powers both the Linux side and the microcontroller side. For a battery-powered build, that is exactly what I want. Second, price and availability. $79 for the 4GB model in stock on Amazon, compared to a Raspberry Pi 5 4GB that is well over $100 if you can find one. That gets our attention. Third, the shared bridge between the microcontroller and the Linux side. It is not standard, it might not survive the community long term, but it is interesting for coordination work and gives you flexibility you don't get by default with a Pi and an SPI hat. So, verdict. And this is where I've been going back and forth. I'm still on the fence. Here's how I'd frame it. If the FD CAN bus controller becomes well supported and the price holds around $80, there is a niche where this board makes real sense. Battery-powered projects where a real microcontroller does real-time work while Linux handles the heavier stuff. Think a device that sits on your vehicle's CAN bus, logs every frame that goes by, streams the data to Linux for analysis, maybe even runs a TensorFlow Lite model at the edge to classify what it's seeing. Those are possibilities this board opens up. All of them untested because we could not get the CAN controller working ourselves. But that is where we would take it if we picked it back up. For anything that isn't battery powered, a CM5 on a Waveshare carrier gives you more compute, more connectivity, and a smaller footprint. That is the honest comparison. What tips the scales for me is going to be App Lab. If Arduino keeps forcing the workflow into a proprietary studio you can't fully use without a board plugged in, and into Python-only apps, this board stays niche. If they lean into the fact that ADB, SSH, and Docker already work, this becomes something a lot more people can use. Time will tell. To recap, the Uno Q is what we're calling the straddle board. 2 brains, 1 board, 1 interesting shared bridge between them. It is misunderstood, it is niche, and at $79 in stock right now, it is worth knowing about. The sample project, the tile server, the GNS wiring, all of it is on our GitHub. Fork it, strip it, make it yours, link in the description. And there is one thing that I haven't told you yet. The community has made real progress on the CAN FD controller. So we will take another swing at the Headwaters Lite Edge CAN to MQTT that we originally planned for this board. And if we get that working, we'll be doing another video. So if you haven't already, be sure to click that subscribe button and the bell notification so that you get notified when that one lands. If this video was helpful in making your decision about whether or not the Uno Q is right for your project, be sure to give it a great big thumbs up. If you know somebody else that's looking to make the decision about whether or not to use the Uno Q for their project, be sure to share this video with them. The links to GitHub, the board itself, and the Trail Current website where you can learn about what we're doing in the platform, all in the description down below. So until next time, remember, it is your vehicle, your data, Wilderness Wired.